ICE has arrested and is trying to deport a well-known Palestinian activist despite the fact that he has a green card, a move that many experts say is a violation of free speech rights under the First Amendment. Right? And this is also incredibly significant because it appears to mark the first publicly known arrest under Trump's broader promise to revoke student visas and deport non-citizen students who joined pro-Palestine campus protests last year, with him claiming that the students no longer had the right to stay in the country because they supported Hamas. And while this is something that Trump has been promising for a while, this latest news notably comes after he brought this whole thing to the next level last week with him writing on Truth Social. All federal funding will stop for any college, school, or university that allows illegal protests. Agitators will be imprisoned or permanently sent back to the country from which they came, and adding American students will be permanently expelled or, depending on the crime, arrested. Though this, as many have noted, that the White House hasn't really clarified what they consider to be an illegal protest, given the fact that these activities are usually protected under the First Amendment. But regardless, the administration has made it clear that Colombia is its first major target, with it announcing on Friday that it had canceled $400 million in grants and contracts to the school, and now going after one of the most prominent protest leaders there. And specifically, the activist in question is Mahmoud Khalil, a former Columbia graduate student with Palestinian heritage who graduated with a master's in December. And while he was still at the university last year, he became a leader of the protest movement, with Khalil describing his role to reporters as a negotiator and spokesman for the school's pro-Palestinian group. And according to a statement from his lawyer, Amy Greer, over the weekend, Khalil was stopped by ICE agents who told him his student visa had been revoked, and saying that when he told them that he was a lawful permanent resident with a green card because his wife is a U.S. citizen, they detained him anyway. And this is Greer also said that she doesn't know where Khalil's even being held. But they're saying that she was told Sunday morning that he was being detained in Elizabeth, New Jersey, a fact that was also listed on an ICE detainee locator website, but then adding, when his wife, a U.S. citizen who is 8 months pregnant and was threatened with arrest as well by the ICE agents last night, tried to visit him there today, she was told he is not detained there. And so now you have Greer saying she received reports that he may have been transferred as far away as Louisiana. And several outlets have also since reported that records suggest that Khalil is indeed being held in custody in Louisiana, with the attorney then going on to say that she has filed a habeas corpus petition on Khalil's behalf, challenging his arrest and detention, and adding, "We will vigorously be pursuing Mahmoud's rights in court and will continue our efforts to right this terrible and inexcusable and calculated wrong committed against him." And with that, saying that the arrest follows the U.S. government's open repression of student activism and political speech, specifically targeting students at Columbia University for criticism of Israel's assault on Gaza, and adding the U.S. government has made clear that they will use immigration enforcement as a tool to suppress that speech. But as far as exactly why Khalil's being detained, that remains unclear right now. Right now, with that, I'll say in a statement last night, a spokeswoman for the Department of Homeland Security said that he was arrested in, quote, support of President Trump's executive orders prohibiting anti-Semitism, adding Khalil led activities aligned to Hamas, a designated terrorist organization, and saying ICE and the Department of State are committed to enforcing President Trump's executive orders and to protecting U.S. national security. With also Secretary of State Marco Rubio sharing a link on X to an AP article about Khalil and writing, "We will be revoking the visas and/or green cards of Hamas supporters in America so they can be deported." And then today, we saw Trump himself chiming in on Truth Social, writing that Khalil had been apprehended and that his arrest was just the first of many to come, and adding that his administration knows of more students who have engaged in what he called pro-terrorist, anti-Semitic, anti-American activity, and claiming without evidence there that many are not students, they are paid agitators. With Trump then going on to say, "We will find, apprehend, and deport these terrorist sympathizers from our country, never to return again." But very notably here, none of those official statements have said what specific crimes Khalil had actually been charged with. And that ends up being super significant because experts say that it is true that DHS can revoke green cards and deport their holders for a wide range of criminal activity, including support for a terror group. And while the agency's statement seems to indicate that they are trying to revoke his green card on those grounds, it's been widely reported, including in the same AP article Rubio shared, that Khalil hasn't actually been charged with a crime. Right? And according to the AP, his arrest appears to stem from an investigation by a Columbia University office that has brought disciplinary charges against many, with Khalil potentially facing sanctions for helping to organize a, quote, unauthorized marching event where participants glorified Hamas's October 7th attack, as well as playing what they called a substantial role in circulating social media posts criticizing Zionism in addition to other acts of alleged discrimination. But as of right now, from what we've seen, those are just allegations under investigation. And even if he's found to be culpable, we're talking about disciplinary action from the university, not necessarily anything with actual immediate legal implications. Which is why with all this, you have so many experts questioning the legality of this move and some just calling it blatantly unconstitutional. Right? And so with all this, we've seen many arguing that he's just being detained for protesting and expressing views protected by free speech, and that criticism notably has even come from within the halls of Columbia. We're seeing the director of the Immigrants' Rights Clinic at Columbia Law School saying that revoking Khalil's green card in retaliation for his public speech, that is prohibited by the First Amendment of the US Constitution. With one legal expert even going a step further, telling CBS, if he's a green card holder, slam dunk, there's no way to arrest him. He had not been charged with a crime, or if he's, if there's something more than that, really there's no way. Number one, because you're dealing with a legal resident alien, which means you're dealing with the green card holder who has a lot of rights in our country. Right, and this is you've had others questioning what legal authority the Trump administration would even have to revoke green cards, noting that usually such an action would require a hearing before an immigration judge. But then, of course, beyond what the experts have been saying, we've also seen a massive reaction to the arrest online, with one example being a petition for his release getting more than 1 million signatures online as of recording. Many also slamming the move in posts, including big names like Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who tweeted, if the federal government can disappear a legal U.S. permanent resident without reason or warrant, then they can disappear U.S. citizens too. Anyone, left, right, or center, who has highlighted the importance of constitutional rights and free speech should be sounding the alarm now. And to her point there, we've seen people across the political spectrum raising concerns. I mean, for example, you even had right-wing Ann Coulter tweeting, there's almost no one I don't want to deport, but unless they've committed a crime, isn't this a violation of the First Amendment? But also, very notably on the other side, we've seen plenty of people and groups praising this move, including the Columbia Jewish Alumni Association, which applauded Khalil's detention in a series of posts on X, with him claiming that he was a ringleader of the chaos at Columbia. You also had the Anti-Defamation League cheering on the arrest, writing, we appreciate the Trump administration's broad, bold set of efforts to counter campus anti-Semitism, and this action further illustrates that resolve by holding alleged perpetrators responsible for their actions. Though notably, even they seem to acknowledge the questionable legal ground here, adding that any deportation action or revocation of a green card or visa must be undertaken in alignment with required due process protections. Right, notably, we ended up seeing the ADL getting some flack for that post from many, including major commentators like Hassan Piker, who shared that post and wrote, the ADL thinks it's okay to revoke the green card of student activists. This is supposed to be a civil rights organization, by the way. But for now, that is where we are. Of course, this is a developing situation. Things are subject to change. And so while we keep an eye on this, in the meantime, I gotta pass the question off to you. What are your thoughts here? Depending on where you go online, drastically different reactions. We've seen people cheering on the move, horrified by the move. I mean, you've even seen takes with thousands of likes of people blaming Joe Biden for this, saying that he's complicit in what the Trump administration is moving to do today. So any and all takes, any and all reasoning, I'd love to hear from you in those comments. Hey, thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this clip from the full Philip DeFranco show. And also, a big thanks to Squarespace for sponsoring our Clips channel. Turn your passion into profit over at squarespace.com/Phil, or use the QR code. Because whether you're launching a business or a lucrative side hustle, your website is your digital business card. It's the only space where you control the story, no algorithms or distractions. And with Squarespace, it's so easy because they got a ton of stunning professional templates with drag and drop editing that makes site design incredibly simple. No coding required. So get started for free at squarespace.com/Phil, or scan the QR code on screen and use code Phil for 10% off when ready to launch. Squarespace.com/Phil.